don't forget to share while you're on your own Facebook page, the link, so that others can watch it. Thank you. Okay. I want to take this time to say good afternoon to all. Happy New Year to all our supporters and our sponsors. We want to say a happy New Year. We know that 2022 was a year that a beautiful year too. We're grateful. And so today I have four beautiful ladies with me, and we decided to just look at a topic and things that people discuss. Maybe want to have a little clarity on it. What is our perspective from the Liberian View platform when we talk about the role and impact of an empowered woman or empowered women? And so today I have four beautiful ladies, professionals in their own right, to talk about what it is when we say what is the role of empower of a role and impact to our society at large, to our various communities, to our individual countries, and to this country, the great United States, where we are all from. What does that mean from a general perspective, from an economic perspective, historical, even tribal perspective? What does that mean? And so today we are asking our audience, you can ask us some questions. This will not be the last discussion. We will come back again as a follow-up based on your questions and your curiosities. Um, so having said that, I will go straight to one of our speakers and who will serve on this panel, Miss Marjorie Wright. White, to introduce herself, please, briefly. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy, and thank you for inviting me for this show. I'm feeling very honored that I can be one of the people who can speak for this, and the topic is right to my heart. So, I love people, I love women, I love everybody, and I want the best for everybody. So, thank you so much. Um, my background, I'm a nurse. It's my background. My last study, I've got master in public health. Um, I during my work, I had a lot to do with human rights violations. I worked a lot with not only war crime but also victims of crimes in general, not specifically war crimes, but also war crimes victims. Now I'm working together with my husband, Dr. Ellen White. I'm a consultant in for with together with his work on human rights violations, on justice for people, and on all kinds of topics. I worked worldwide. I was in very poor areas. I worked in rich areas. So, I think I hope I can contribute a little bit, and I hope to learn from you all a lot. Every morning when I'm getting up, I'm thinking by myself, I need to learn again something today. There will be again someone who is teaching me something and I can learn from him. So I am looking forward to learn from you all about this topic. Thank you so much.
Okay, we want to say thank you. And those of you who are watching, you can go to www.facebook.com/ The Liberian View or youtube.com/ The Liberian View for you to watch. And so I'm going to go quickly to a dear friend of mine, a co-worker, professional lady, also Lady Kate, to introduce herself.
Yeah, hello, Miss Lucy. Thank you for inviting me to be part of the Liberian View today. I am Kate D, best known in the community as Lady Kate, and I'm a healthcare professional, healthcare administrator, and also a advocate, I would say, not activist, community advocate, especially across the African community. I also am the founder of Miss Africa USA pageant, which is an empowerment platform for young women. So I am really honored to be part of this panel of discussion today and looking forward to sharing my thoughts and my views. And hopefully, it'll inspire someone out there who is watching. And thanks for being amongst these phenomenal ladies today. And I'm looking forward to a great conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lady Kate, as you know her. And as she's saying it, you know, one of the mean, she's the lead when it comes to the Miss Africa. And I think that is going to be held on the 18th of March. Watch out for that. And so I'm going to go to our dear friend also, who's also an advocate. We have a lot of advocates on this call and on this platform, Miss Cindy, to introduce briefly herself before we can start the discussion.
So, hello to all of you out there in Facebook land, YouTube land. I want to say it's an honor being here with Mrs. White, Lady K, and our host, Mrs. Fair, our sister and a friend, and we thank God for change. My name is Yacindy Martin Beye. I'm an advocate, the founder and the CEO of Oxygen, and our former president of the Liberian Association of Metropolitan Atlanta. I'm a justice advocate. I'm actually will call myself an equalist, and it's good to be here. I look forward to a good discussion that will empower women, children, young people, and world changer alive. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yesenia. And the host of the Librarian View. My name is Lucy Wilson Kier. I'm also a healthcare professional advocate when it comes to the rights of all our nationals, especially when it comes to immigrants and our disabled population in the district. And I am really looking forward for us to discuss because there's a lot of misconception when it comes to being empowered. What do you think or how do you feel when you say you are empowered? What does it mean? Does it mean that when you're in an exclusive group, or is that education, or is that because of tradition or historical perspective, or maybe the modern Western world? So today we have these ladies that will really dealt into the topic based on their personal experiences or economically, educationally, or historically. So I don't know. We have one of also our speaker who is supposed to be on this particular panel, Dr. Vera Talbot. I don't know whether you stay driving or you want to just introduce yourself wherever you are. If not, Dr. Tauber will join us later on. It's about 4:37 p.m. Today is Sunday, January 29th, and we are here. So we're going to start with the first speaker. We're going to look up to our own Cindy to start the ball rolling. What we're going to do here today, we're going to give each speaker 5 to 10 minutes to just say what they think, and then later on, if we get any questions from the chat or from the Facebook page, those who have sent the link out, we can answer those questions. If not, we just go to Lady Kate that will tell us from her perspective whether it's historical, political, or whether it's even from uh, general. What does this mean? And so that we can stop confusing ourselves. And the whole thing here is for this discussion is for us to know the difference between when you say you are empowered, whether you are advocate, whether being empowered, whether you've influenced somebody's life, what are you doing to be empowered, or maybe you're just empowered because you're educated. What does it mean? So we'll look up, we will just turn the table to our colleague, Yacindy, that will just tell us what does that mean from her perspective and maybe from experiences. Yacindy, the floor is yours. Yacindy, you're muted.
Thank you. From my lens or from my vantage point, being empowered, it means you know who you are, you know your self worth, you are confident, not condescending, okay? You can make a decision that you are pleased with without asking for others to be in sync, and you know that it is right, or having some level of autonomy. But it also means being an humanist, to be able to elevate other people and make them see how good they can be, or what a better world we can be in. That would be from my vantage point as a advocate, as a woman who is empowered, a woman who empower other women, who stand out for other women, and not just women. The essence of me doing this is I grew up in a society where it's patriarchy per se, where men have always dominated, where people think women place is in the kitchen. I believe a woman can be a sergeant. This out there. I believe a woman can be a president or vice president. We've seen Kamala Harris. I've seen a woman can be a powerful talk show host that can change the world. We've seen Oprah Winfrey. We can see a woman can be a writer and an author. Like Maya Angelou is out there. And I can go on and on. In my own Liberian community, Asaye, who worked for the World Bank, who is an economist, like her and I, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, a powerful voice who, thought she go on her own voice, however her decision, that was her decision. But from my, again, vantage point is a woman or a human being who believe in human ability, human independence, and human owning their space and their voice and being the best that it can be and giving them opportunity to maximize their potential. That is my thought on that.
Thank you so much. We're going to get back to you, but we're going to move quickly to our own Lady Kate for her to give her perspective when it comes to that. I don't know whether it's economic empowerment. Maybe sometimes women will feel that economically we are empowered, we have this great job, so we are empowered. Or maybe historically women have been very powerful from the African setting, and whether that link, that alignment makes us to be empowered. Or maybe in the home we are the breadwinners, we are making six figures, whether that is an empowerment. So let's give the floor to our own Lady Kate to tell her, to inform this discussion as to what does that mean, empowered woman.
Thank you so much. And yes, from my perspective, the way I look at it is to be an empowered woman, first, you must know your rights. Okay. So if you don't know your rights, you probably don't even know your potential. Um, Growing up as a young girl in Cameroon, I could see how women struggled. Um, you know, Back in the days when our parents went to school, girls did not have that opportunity to go to school to get an education. And times are changing, we're seeing more girls getting an education, and but still there seems to be some glass ceiling that is set for girls in society. So for me, being empowered is about breaking those biases in society, letting women, achieve their full potential, and not discriminate against women. For me, being empowered is about going for equity, ensuring that, women have, they benefit from what they've been able to achieve. They benefit from you know, reaching their goals, that without any form of discrimination, that women's rights are recognized. So for me, being empowered is also being able to make informed decisions about your life, about what you want and what you want for your community, and that you can achieve. Being empowered is also about taking care of your sisters, elevating other women around you, bringing them to that space where they also feel comfortable to thrive. Being empowered is all of those things and even more. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dedicate. That was so detailed regarding, bringing every others with you, including your siblings. And because not, being empowered is not like just having your education, making the money, and you strive and you don't really look back. It's like in the African setting, is looking back and giving back, making sure that your community, even back home and here, that you're providing for them. Being empowered also, what does that mean? Does I mean does is failure does failure makes you not to be empowered? um does where the setting that you came from, does it make you not being empowered? um um does getting married equipped to being empowered? Is that part of it? And is it possible to be empowered in a corrupt setting, in an environment that does not allow you to be empowered? uh, uh, how does that look like? So I'm going to pass it over. I think we'll come back again for us to really touch on those points that I just stated. And but first, let's just hear from our own Marjo White, as to what does that mean when it comes to being empowered, women empowered.
On the first place, I think the more you are talking about it, the more questions is going to be asked. Is that really empowerment? For me, empowerment means making someone stronger, and as strong as you are yourself, so that the person can stand next to you, and together you are not one and one is two, but you are one and one is three. Educate people. I know very educated people, but are they empowered? Sometimes they are very weak or feeling very weak in other situations. They are feeling very empowered and comfortable in a certain setting, and in another setting, they are feeling really the underdog. So, are they empowered? I know people who are not educated at all, and they came so far, and they are feeling strong, and they have such a strong personality. They are standing next to you, not above you, not the underdog, but not next to you. I know very rich people who are feeling always the underdog, and when you're talking more with them, what do you think it happened? They had to deal with domestic violence, and they were really an underdog in their own situation. So being rich is not that you are empowered. It's not the same. But for me, empowerment is being more strong, and that you can educate it to other people, and that you can be in that position, that you can, in addition to the other people and to your community.
Okay, thank you so much, Marjo. So are we saying that, because sometimes when we look at people, the way they dress, the way they carry themselves, or maybe we feel that they're rich, and do we equate that with being empowered? Um, but giving back, like Lady Kid said, I think you all stated it so well. Being able to influence people positively and bring them on board and empower them makes you an empowered person. But if we talk about, for instance, let's say we are an exclusive group here, and we say we call ourselves the empowered women. And then sometimes you invite people to, provide training for them. You want to empower them. But now that your exclusive group, they're not going to be a part of it. But you still say you are empowered. And sometimes because you're educated, you're in the home. There are different settings here. We look at the African setting, we look at the European setting. And then you're in the home, you're making the six figures, you're a lawyer, healthcare professional. And do you feel more empowered than your husband? Or do you feel that your husband is not, I mean, not you per se, that maybe your partner does not recognize that you are empowered, meaning you are also contributing to the home? Does that make you not to be empowered if you are in a country that does not allow you to feel that way? Is it empowerment or mind thing? Is this something that you think about? Is this something that you say, oh yes, I'm empowered, I'm empowered. I went to school, I did healthcare, I'm a healthcare professional, so I'm empowered. But if you are in a society that does not allow you to demonstrate that can empowerment be demonstrated? That's the question. And does the environment or the country play a role when you're supposed to be an empowered woman? Any one of you can come in.
I mean, this is Lady Kate. Um, yeah, so depending on your environment where you are, that environment can also have an influence on, whether or not someone is empowered. There are some societies that will, you know, kind of try to push you down.
Mhm.
You know your potential, you know your abilities. I mean, even in the home, um, you can do more for your family, you can make good decisions. But if your partner, husband or wife, does not allow you to express that ability to achieve that potential, then you're not empowered. So you could have all the money in the world and still not be empowered. You could be rich, but not empowered. So empowerment is not, it's not, it's an ability. It's the right to feel that you can reach your full potential. And you should feel that because you're able to make decisions and follow through and achieve those goals, right? And without anyone trying to, push you down or oppress you or anything like that. Yeah.
So, and I'm going to add up to Lady K
Hmm.
words. It's a state of mind. It's also an
Hmm.
action, right? Um, Confident, ability. You can have financial independence. Does that mean you're empowered? No. Okay. We know a lot of celebrities that have multi-million dollars in a bank. And you hear the story, I was abused. I mean, we heard the story of the Me Too movement in America. These are women who make money, that people adore. So we are also part of our environment. Now, for some of us who come from a patriarchy society where men are dominant, well, the first thing you get on, like I'm talking, the first thing the men will come and where your husband? You need to go cook for your husband. And because that was society dictates, that's where they know. All right. And that's where our little girls know. And then some of these people, so you get women like we call feminists, and they leave the route of feminism, which means equality, bringing women to the same place, giving them right, giving them the ability, giving them the confidence to reach their full potential. But they become tyrant themselves. They are not empowered. They find themselves in a power position, and they tend out to abuse just like where they were, and they feel they're empowered. When you are empowered, you elevate others. When you are empowered, you want to see other people do better. When you are empowered, you raised up miniature of you that are even better than you are. All right. So for me, that's my definition. It's just not. It's not the word dress. It's not the financial independence. That's economic independence, which is good. We want our little girls to be that. We want a society where, your daughter don't have to go to a boyfriend and say, I need a bag, buy me a bag. I need a makeup, buy me a makeup, or all of that. We want them to reach their full potential, and everything else can be an olive value or olive tool where they have. But and then they're able to reach out to other people. We saw the case in Liberia. People were empowered, and I like to go to Liberia because that's where I'm from. All right. I come from a home where my mother, my aunts before my mother, all of them were married at a very young age. They didn't get to go to school. Okay. My mother literally defied the society. As she had her children, she began to pay her way to school. So because of that, in me, I'm like proud to her. She would say, "You got if you need to speak up, speak up." It got to a point. I remember the last election. I'm going to Liberia. My brother called my mom and said I should not go to Liberia because I support somebody else, and he was supporting somebody else. And my mom told him, her husband said she can't go. He said no. Are you buying a plane ticket? He said no.
Yeah, I think there's a little problem with a lady with Yacindy's line. I'm sure she's going to come back. But yeah, but just for the discussion, I think is not only because it's not only happening in Africa, even in the United States. Because I remember when I was president for the Liberian community here, 4, 5, 6 years ago, and during my first or second, I think my second term, and by then I was still married, and then people would say, I think it was in 2016, 15, it's 14, and I went to a meeting, and one of the board member asking me, uh, um, "Where's your husband? You didn't bring your husband." you know and my husband was not even at that time, was not even an official of the community, but that's what is required. Like, you come in here, you need to bring your husband. So it's not only like going back to Africa thing. Even here, it is a mind thing. Like, if you go to meetings here, or maybe there's a committee form, the first thing will say, "Oh, the women will take care of the food." So we prepare ourselves to go to these meetings. If you want to talk, it's like, I don't think men are, not in all cases, that men are holding women to not feel empowered. I think we just settle in that position to say this is our role. And I remember sometimes you go out to meetings, or maybe you go visit your cousin. You will see all the ladies will sit somewhere in the living room area, and all the men will sit somewhere else in this America. And then when you go and stand to talk with the men, it's like all of them be looking at you like, "What are you doing?" So we brought it from Africa, and it's here. But this new generation, I think they're looking at it differently. Having a discussion and having an idea, having a plan, having good and smart God-given idea is given by God, and that's who you are, because it's in you. But we most of the time we put it down. So do we think that women as a whole, do we are we are we one way or the other in control of our empowerment, or we are not? Is that a societal whole on our empowerment, or are we contributing factors to not really being empowered, or not being heard, or not being seen? The kid, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I'm glad you talked about sometimes we women kind of settle into the role where it's not necessarily the men telling you this is your place. Sometimes you see women just settle into that place and not be heard. So I've walked into meetings where, it's a general meeting, men and women, and then there's a table over there where you see a bunch of guys, trying to make decisions about, the group and stuff like that. So I will, as an empowered woman, I walk over there and I don't challenge, but I say, hey, I can contribute to this. I have ideas, to help with what you guys are struggling with. But again, Miss Lucy, very often you see our women in one corner, the men in another corner, and very often we always see the one woman that gets up to join the guys who are making the decision, because you women are sitting silently, right? That woman gets looked upon as, maybe she's out of place, or she's that crazy woman. Or so sometimes we women do it to ourselves. And for me, I am not shy. If there's a decision to be made, you will hear my voice amongst our women or amongst men and women. So I encourage women, especially, I think that women are very good at running organizations. They've done so successfully. And very often, the men actually depend on women, because you'll see the women doing all the nitty gritties, getting things together. But at the end of the day, there's a man at the top, saying this is what we've done. And oftentimes the effort of the women is not even acknowledged, right? So, we have to start changing our mindset, and having women at the table when decisions are made, and let their voices be heard. For me, that is empowerment, because a woman's contribution is very, very valuable. They may have that answer that you're looking for. You could talk all day, but a woman's voice might just give you that solution. And that's how I look at life, and everything and everywhere I belong, I'm making my voice heard. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dedicate. So we just moved to Marjorie regarding what is your thought on this? Are women in a
You
position
know,
to be to, to know that they are empowered or they do not?
I think when you are making groups, like you are telling about, like women sitting together and men sitting together, sometimes people feeling very comfortable in that role and sitting together with women or sitting together with men. And that's their own choice. And people are making choices. And I always say, you have a choice. You have a choice what you can make. There is no choice when people are really victims because of something. When people are victims of domestic violence, for example, they don't feel comfortable anymore among people who have a hard voice, a loud voice, sitting together, screaming, and so on and so on. So they are choosing to sit in a different place. Uh, um, there are also people who, and especially I see it among women, who always feel that they are in a victim role, that they are an underdog. And I think those underdog people are really the not empowered people. And they have a choice. Do they want to have some help and being more empowered? Or do they want to stay in their own victim role? Because some people getting positive attention because they are always in a victim role. Oh, ah, that's at someone else's place. So, this victim role, I think that's very important. And nobody needs to be in a victim role. Uh, However, when they always get positive attention because they are in the victim role, they want to stay in that role. So, I think it is very important that people choose where they want to sit. For me personally, I like a mixed company because I think I like to hear the opinion from the woman and I like to hear the opinion from men. I like, and even from children. I sometimes children can be very surprising in what they are saying at once. And and I think it starts already at childhood to make it comfortable for children to say something. So I think it is really, uh, in some cases, there's a choice for people to go and join a certain group. I always have also another thing that is sideways of it. I don't like negative people around me. So what I'm doing is I'm avoiding to be around negative people. You don't always have that choice, But when I've got the choice, I'm walking away from negative people. I like positive people. I like positive people who have who are teaching me something, who have fun in life, and it doesn't matter to me if they are rich, poor, educated, not educated. I can learn from everybody. So this how you are telling that it is, I think. And I get you, Lucy, when people are saying, hey, you can't go to those men, I'm thinking, why? I can go to those men when I want to do that. Makes us that empowered? Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe we are empowered to that. But maybe in another situation, I'm more a little bit the underdog and more waiting if I can do something or not. So this it would be very easy when we would say, hey, it is A, B, and C, and when you're doing that in all situations, you are empowered, and in all situations, you are the underdog or not. So, is that a little bit
Yeah, thank
clear?
you so much. I think that was well said. I was just wondering, and I'm thinking while we're having the discussion, we have in the next generations that are coming,
Mhm.
and we have a mindset in not only Liberia but in the African diaspora. I'm not talking about even in our country in Africa here, where I think we've set aside to say these are men talking, so don't be there. A men talk. And when you go to, sometimes you go to meetings, now people are really getting like with at ease, like the fact that they have a woman president in various communities now, or they have women who are holding top positions in other organizations now. But in reality, how can we, what can we say today to the next generation coming, especially from the diaspora? Um, what would be the take? What do you think it would be that we can tell them today when it comes to being empowered, especially when some women have really tailored their mind that that's a man's job, or we will be in the kitchen, or this is what we need to do. How today, how do you think you can speak? What can you say to the next generation? We have to be respectful to our partners. If you have one, your husband, you have to respect them. They have to respect you too. But if you an achiever, because they have women that love to achieve, they love leadership, they are positively aggressive and go-getters. And what can we say to our generation now, especially when we have other women that feel that that ain't even her place in the Liberian English? They will say that's not even her place. Uh, let the men do this, let the men do that. How can we? What can we say to the next generation? How, especially with these kind of roadblocks that history and tradition and even our own thinking, we just because sometimes some of the things we think is actually not what our parents are doing. Our parents did respect their husband, because I can say mothers in Africa, even though they're not saying this, but they run the house. They make sure their food is there. They say no, they say yes to this, and the husbands agree. But are we managing the same? What can we tell our younger generation? What should they expect?
I think that, respect is everything. Like, respect defines everything. In a relationship, love and respect have to reign together. So you can't have someone that's undermining you or um, be in an abusive relationship. As an empowered woman, you know, that your rights, that someone should respect your rights, right? But we know that not everybody, not every woman is able to defend their rights. So it is, if you look back to what some of our parents went through in relationships to make it work, a lot of mothers took abuse. They were in abusive relationships. And they would stay because of the children, because, society expects you to stay because of, you're married, you must stay married, right? A lot of our mothers went through that. But today, I think the younger generation are thinking differently. They're more aware of their rights as women. They're more aware that violence is not acceptable. And so, yes, they are speaking out. But again, not everyone is empowered with that voice to seek for their rights and be able to defend their rights. Um, there are still women in abusive relationships who get stuck in it, and it's up to us to keep on um, offering help and services and raising awareness. Uh, because as a community, a lot of our women are still, going through abusive relationships and they stay there. It's not only an African thing. I think it's across communities, white, black, you name it. It's domestic violence is still very endemic in society. So I think that, it's something we should continue to advocate. Um, May I also add that very often in our African community, when you have an educated woman, it can appear as a source of intimidation for men. And sometimes you hear, oh, even women say that, you know, she's, having all this education, she's not married, no man is going to want to marry her. But I say, do not stop. Keep going. Get as much education that you can, because having a man or being married does not define you. God knows that you're on earth for a purpose, and your purpose might be to just keep getting that education and making a difference in the world with it. So do not stop. Don't let anybody stop you and say that you're too educated for a man. You'll hear that in our African society, but please don't stop. Thank you.
Well, this is so, so good, And I'm hoping that our audience, you're watching, you have your question, and I can promise you this is the first series. We're going to continue this. Maybe every other 2 months, we'll come back to really give you some update on this. I think this is so, so good for us to be aware, because some women are in some homes, they're married because it's like we feel like, okay, you have to be married. And then when you are in a marriage, and that's an excellent thing, that's a God-given thing, it's good. But if you're there and you feel like you're not in school, and you're smart, you need to learn something, empower yourself, strive to get information. So when we talk about empowered women, it entails a lot. And our sister Lady Kate rightly said it, because when you're educated, they say, oh, you're not going to find no one to marry you. That is not true, because in Africa in those days, if I can remember, even I think maybe in the Western world, and Marjorie can speak to that. Um, Most of the time, the man is working, and maybe your mom may not even have a job, and she will be there, but the job is taken care of in the home. But our mindset is that the fact that you're not working in an office, you don't have a job. But you come and stay at home and take care of the kids. Make sure they're fed, make sure they go to school, make sure they're prepared, make sure they do their assignment while daddy is at work. So that was their job they were doing. They were equally contributing to the mental health, the emotional health of the children in the absence of the parent being the father going to work. So when you come here, you have a husband that just want for you to stay and do CNA. When you want to do your LPM, they tell you no. You've not been empowered. That is not love, because you need to empower yourself. Um, so on this discussion, let's look at being empowered, and you have the potential, but there's a lot of roadblock. What can we say to our audience? How to um how to really not really get rid of, but smoothly, transcend from those kind of roadblocks that will stop you. You have the potential, you're smart, You came from whatever country you came from. You're so smart, but your husband is so satisfied. He has a PhD, but he's so satisfied that you are just a CNA and that's it. And you go and do some hours. How can we from this podium speak to those in those positions, especially our young adults? What do you have to say to that, Miss Yusini? Welcome back again.
Thank you. I have unstable internet. I think Liberia follow me here, so excuse me. Let me, before we get to that, I wanted to add to what Marjorie said. I, your Cindy Martin, you chose to be happy. I've chosen to be an example to my daughters. I have three daughters. I've chosen not to play the victim role. I've chosen that when my daughter understand my particular life story as a war survivor who experienced a lot of things and not allow that to keep me behind or make me bitter, but make me a better person, to make me a community example, to stand up and say, regardless of what I've been through, I'm better. I can be better, or I can create a better world and impact the world where women will have a voice. I've chosen to be an example to my daughters. Now, if we as women, especially African women for that matter, or women around the world, if we are the first teacher of humanity, maybe we have not owned our space because we conceive them, we nurture them in our womb, we give them birth, we nurture them, we educate them, we help them with their school homework. Maybe we need to come back to the table and say, how have we raised our children? How have we created a village that comes back to abuse us? How have we created ourselves, or the community that we have created, our daughters don't feel safe? Maybe we need to rethink the way we look at things in our community, all right? But again, I've chosen to be happy, but we have to look at ourselves deeply, okay, in our surrounding as women, as women who create the community and the environment that we live in. Most men don't stay home. They don't breastfeed babies. They do that every now and then. Maybe if you're especially in today's modern world, for 3 months with your 2.5 months, and maybe they wake up in the middle of the night, they help you nurse if they're on board and feed the child, change the diaper, and say, honey, get some rest. I know you're being tired. But we also have responsibility because we're pushing this though. And the men, we have also allowed our space. They say, Michael X once said, if you push and you push back, and they push you and you push back, eventually you will have nowhere to go. And if you have nowhere to go, you will either have to act or you will react. I think that's where we are. I'm not so, Sis Lucy, I'm not so worried about my daughters. Okay? My daughters were born in the 21st century. They are the dot-com babies. They're the children of the global village. They have information at their fingertip. They have a strong mother. They have a caring father who respects their mother, all right? And because of that, I pray and hope that they know better. And even if somebody pushed them once and they gave them a pass, they're not going to allow them to push them for the second time and get away with it. But that's just my daughter. That's just not even a fraction of the billions of women in the world, right? So, but we have a larger responsibility of women who have come to know ourselves, who we are. They say feminists. I'm not talking about the extremists who, when given power or when they know themselves, they turn out to abuse. You and I know that from our country. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about equalists, women who believe in equality, creating a better world for the rest of us to coexist. It does not matter where continent you come from. It does not matter what state you live in. It does not matter what complexion you are, what texture of is your hair, and oft for you, children are children, and you want to see them maximize their God-given potential. And that's the word that I'm looking at, and that's how I see that my kids see the world through my eyes. especially as a professional educator, that they see me as a good example, because we women, we are the very first example that our children see before they go out. We are the first teacher. So how are we teaching them? So maybe there's something that we need to discuss maybe in the future. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And I'm glad you stated that you're not talking about your children, especially when they are in the United States, a country that provides, a country that has the good health care setting, a country that have good governance when it comes to the various governance in various states.
Right.
And when I was growing up, my older sisters and others, when I look at my older sisters, and my mindset was like, when they are older and cannot function, I will take their place, and I will be the woman I am today. So let's look at Marjorie. I'm sorry, but let's just look at
Okay.
Africa or the whole world. Are women in those other countries empowered? Um, what does empowerment means to them? Do we have a role to make them feel empowered, or is it something that we can do? I'll give the floor to Lady Kate.
Okay, I didn't quite catch your question.
I was saying that I'm glad that Yesini talked about her children and how
Yeah.
they're educated, and how far they gone in this great country that we have, the United States. And I'm thinking that when I look at my daughter, I would say yes, she emulates most of the things that I do, even my children. And because they're in the United States, a country of free, a country that you have choices to make. But when I was growing up, I stated that I look up to my older sister. They were way older, like 10 years or 15 years older. And I said to myself, you know what, I'm going to be big one day, and I will just take their place because I'm preparing myself to take their place. Have we done that well in our settings, in our communities we are from? Or if we have not, is this something that we need to start doing?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, Miss Lucy, because our children will emulate us. We are role models for our children. So if you have a mother who's sitting there being abused and she's taking it, that child is going to think being abused is normal. They're going to grow up remembering how their mother tolerated abuse. And the chances are they will, tolerate abuse, right? So we as women are responsible for ensuring that the younger generation, our children, and women who are under our influence are not trapped in, those kinds of relationships, right? So we always need to foster an environment where women can thrive, where women can realize their full potential, where women who are being abused can find help. We should be able to help them channel, pave a way for them to get out of abusive relationships. I think we have a responsibility, right? And you may not exactly know someone in your circle because they have not opened up to you. But every opportunity that we have to raise awareness. Someone listening to me today might just be, you know, that call might come through and say, you spoke about this, I need help. So we should never shy away from raising awareness. We should never shy away from for raising our daughters to be who they are, who they want to be, that they fulfill their potential in life. So we have that responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lady Kate. And I was just looking at, yes, I talked about um,
Can I add
back home
something
in the
on it?
setting. So I was just wondering, Marjorie, what do you think if we want to extend and create awareness, as Lady Kate stated, not only where we are in the United States, but like maybe back home? Do you think good governance, security that comes with good governance, the safety and lives of our young women that should feel safe and feel empowered? Do you think good governance play a role when it comes to being empowered as a woman?
I want to add a little bit what Lady Kate was saying, because it is not only about women, it is also abusive of children, abusing children, and also abusing the older people, elderly. In Africa, you see much more respect for the elder people, so maybe that they are abused in Africa is less than here in America. But also keep them in mind. The longer you are living in another country, the more you have to deal with these things also. And I agree with Lady Kate. You need to be aware what is happening around you. When you see things are changing with someone, people are in a very careful way are telling something, that you take it serious and that you take people separate. Those are the real victims. You have also people, what I was telling, who are always in a victim role. They are not really victims, but those are people that the glass is always half full. You have in the group, you have people who are leading, you have the middle group, and you have the people who are following in the end. They don't want to have changes or something like that. So, to keep the people who are leading a little bit to the middle group and empower the people at the end, then you're coming much more close together and you learn much more from each other. And the real victims, I agree, they need professional help. You can't go as a neighbor or a friend. You can be listening ear. You can say, I'm always there for you, but I'm take you by the hand and I'm going with you to the right people who can really help you. Even when there's a person who's living in Africa and has to deal with war crimes at this moment, for example, or had it in the past, getting them out of the situation via refugee camps or something like that. But there are the real instances who are taking care for them. You can't do that by yourself, but you can take them by the hand and advising where they can go. I think that is my way that I think you need to help more. Uh, I think it is still a choice from people if they want to do that or not. You can try to encourage them, you can try to get them out of the house, but at the end, it is still their own choice if they want that. Uh, and for myself, I worked a lot in of other countries, other cultures. I worked in Indonesia with women. I worked in Yemen with women. I worked in Africa, several countries with women. And I saw always very powerful women. But the power they didn't show their power. And at the end, with helping them, with taking them by the hands, and a little bit of education, you saw at once a completely different woman coming up, stepping up for herself, and even for community. I see Cindy laughing, so it must be that she's agreeing with me, more or less.
I am.
So thank you. So I think we can speak for the woman. But I think it's better to take them by the hand as soon as you figure out, hey, they need a hand, they need a hug, they need a kiss, and you're comfortable with me. And I'm going to take care of you that you are not that underdog anymore. And when you've chosen to be a victim, you aren't the victim, but you have chosen to be a victim. Okay, then we keep you out of that role if you want to. You know, I was robbed in the street. They were beating me down. I had burglars in my house. But I told my body, I'm not going to be a victim. Because when you are a victim, you are going to fear. And when you're fearing, you are getting paralyzed. I think that's a little bit.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Marjorie. I think that was excellent. I was just thinking, I know that in the United States, and Lady Kate, every one of you can agree with me. Everything is of choice. Uh, People make informed choices, and we make sure that they do when it comes to healthcare. And in everything, sometimes people may not make some informed choices, but in our own setting, whether those choices are even available or whether they've been informed. So we will look at whether the choices are available or whether they are informed about those choices before even they can think about making the choice, or whether they are even aware that they have choices in some areas we may not know. So how can we? I know we're going to come back on this discussion maybe in March or wherever it is, but how can we? And I like what you said. It is their choice. And sometimes you have to even take them to say, this is, let me explain this to you. But how would, what, who can tell me, or maybe you all can chime in, what would that kind of structure look like? That framework. How would the discussion start? You go to somewhere in a village and um, talk, not even the village, because even in Monrovia setting itself, a lot of the migration is so high right now. So to tell someone who is enshrined in their thinking that this is mine, this is who I am, and there's nothing I can do about it. I remain just who I am. And the mindset of no choice, how can you help that kind of person to empower them as an empowered woman?
Okay, I'm gonna come in, Lucy. Thank you so much for that. And I like when Marjorie said, in so many words, paying it forward, right? You know better. You grab the woman by the hand and say, "I can't help you because you need professional help, but I will be alongside you." Okay, that's assuring. Women, women negotiate emotions. We want to feel safe. You can be a multimillionaire if you don't feel safe with a guy as a woman, it's not gonna work out. Okay, that's the first thing. If I can produce, I can take it on myself. I want to be with somebody that I feel safe with. That's number one. So we're gonna pay it forward. And people only know where they know. Lucy, if I grew up in an environment where everybody there is running prostitution by the time they turn 13, I'm waiting to reach 13 so I myself can get my own room per se, unless I've seen something other than that, or I have an extraordinary mindset that I see beyond what exists. Those are the vision driver and the visionary and the world changer per se. Those are the Zuckerberg, those are the Oprah Winfrey, who say I came from an abusive, not Zuckerberg per se, but Oprah. I came from an abusive home, but I will not be a victim. I'm going to change the world. And I'm out here. I will do everything that I can. I'm going to change the world. If I even touch two persons' life, right? But I'm going to tell you this since you're talking about Liberia. I was in Liberia in December. And we went to this little town. It's called Wipa. And this older lady who could not speak English at all. When we started to talk, because we wanted to do civil education, voter education, she left from her seat and she took the microphone. She assumed that we were all different people and didn't speak the dialect. So she needed somebody to interpret. And she said when she was a little girl, She wanted to go to school. But at the time, women weren't allowed to go to school. And she did not go to school. But she was happy that we were there because she sees herself in us. It empowers her. It makes her happy that we should not stay away. There are more women like her. And now that we can help to change their lives. You see, she's not playing a victim. She's telling you if I had telling us if I had the opportunity, this is what I'm gonna do. But then she's also making the whole surrounding, the people who felt intimidated, that if this woman can come and speak her dialect, she does not speak English. And people must understand. Japanese people who are educated, they don't speak English because in Liberia, if you don't speak good English, then I mean you're not educated. Education simply means self-awareness, knowing your having knowledge of who you are, knowing your responsibility, all rules that you need to live by. I'm not talking about you being a chemist or being an astronaut. That's another case. But understanding humanity for that matter, where you want to be, how you want to change the world, how you're going to impact the world, right? So there are a lot of women. I will tell you for free, at least 75% of Liberian women cannot, from where I come from, what I've seen, all right, cannot read at 8th grade level. Per the word standard, 8th grade level is what we call literate. It's not. But that does not by any means you are any less of a person. You just can't read and write in English. But you can raise a good village. You can be heard. You can change the word. You can demand your rights per your constitution when it says that there should be mass education. The women who started the movement that Lima Bowen won their war for, they, it was not her who started that. It were women who could not read and write. But they knew they were tired with the war. They knew that the children deserved better. They knew they deserved better. And they were going to fight even if it was in death they were going to. And Lima came and joined and became the mouthpiece. This is what we're talking about. We're not talking about waiting for people to punch you down, punch you, and you can't wake up. Marjorie Jeff rightfully says, I was attacked, but I refused to be a victim. Because if I were going to be a victim, fear would set in. I would not fight back. I would not stay alive. But I was not going to. This is what we're talking about. How do we move the needles as women? Not just as women, as little boys and girls, as the next generation of leadership. How do we not take the things that happen to us? Because if we're a victim, the likelihood that we'll victimize other people is likely. It's 90%. But if we're a survivor and we're owning and say no more, then we are ready to change the world together. And I think that's how we need to see the world. In my opinion, in my belief, who
I
I
think
became.
I think that is excellent. And I think that was well said, because if I know that in the villages, especially when it comes to Africa, I knew that they had women, they had their own form and structure of leadership, and it was excellent, and they did extremely well without even being schooled. And the fact that the old lady will see herself, her young self, through you and the others that were there, it shows that she has her worth. And
Yes.
she said, I didn't do this, but look at this generation. So it's like passing the baton. I didn't pass it, but I'm glad that they embrace it and they are here today. And do you think this is an example, Lady Kate, that because in most time, to me, not in most time, not always, that we are our own problems. In the sense that I know how well Lady Kate is performing in this community, in the metropolitan area, how she advocates. I know what Yusini does. I know what Marjorie does. But instead of me uplifting what they're doing, I, like downplay it. But look at someone in the village. Her aspiration when she was young, I wanted to be this, a lawyer. But today, I value these young people, even though, but maybe I'm sure she was praying that somebody will rise up and come and not ashamed to speak their heart, their dialect, to be able to talk with her. So she felt value at where she was, and she know that she had worth. because some are Liberian have achieved what she wanted. And so to be a brought up piece. Do you think that empowered women, because sometimes we say we are empowered, and do we transfer or influence or create an atmosphere that other women will see us and feel that even though I'm not a doctor, I'm not a healthcare administrator, but I am empowered. The fact that I see that Lady Kate is there, that I am there, because we all cannot be what we think we want to be always. But should we align ourselves with that and say that we are empowered like what the lady did in the village, seeing Cindy and others, and knowing that this is what I wanted, but it did not happen. But I'm so happy that we have few people from Africa, from the States, that are empowered and are doing what I intended, what my dream was.
Yes, so thank you. That's really, really, Yasini, you nailed it. And I think very often we have to, I speak about taking responsibility and owning it, right? So we as women, who see ourselves as empowered, we have that responsibility to hold the younger ones by hand and bring them to the table, let them share what they have with our community. So very often I see rising leaders in our community, right? I always want to acknowledge them, bring them in because they're younger, they're coming in with fresh ideas. That's the kind of environment that we should be nurturing. Um, Sometimes, you get women saying, oh, she's too much or she's whatever. I really don't pay attention to that. When I see the green light, I see a candle burning. I want that candle to shine so we all can see it and, light our own candles. As women leaders, we have to keep doing that in our community. Bring on the younger ones, empower the younger ones, because as we grow older, we want to see continuity and even more empowered women who can take the next generation on to more greatness. Yeah. So it's very important that we see talent, we acknowledge it, and we help to expose that talent for the benefit of our community. And again, I wanted to add that sometimes you may have an educated woman. She may be a chemist, she may be a physician, she may be, you know, a teacher, but might not know her rights, might not know her constitutional rights. So going to school and sitting in the classroom doesn't mean that you know your rights. And again, sitting in that relationship that doesn't let you thrive, doesn't, you know, want you to grow is something that some women are not aware of. So as we continue to speak and share our experiences and our knowledge, let's uh, um, raise awareness on issues that are important to women and to our children, that they know their rights and they're reaching for their full potential. Thank you.
Thank you so, so much. I think time is fast spent. And I just want to let our audience and our supporters and those who are our audience right now watching either from YouTube
Can I
or,
can I still add something?
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
or
Uh,
watching from YouTube or Facebook, you can send us some questions We will pull out those questions and we will come back with some responses to you because we know that this is educational. This platform, especially for this topic, women, empowered women, we're going to continue. It's a series we're going to be discussing and bringing you some great ideas what to do to empower yourself and what to do if you don't feel empowered, or maybe you're not in an atmosphere to demonstrate your full potential. We're going to be here for you. Not We're not saying that you should be disrespectful to people or anyone, but you were made, you have your rights, and those rights come with responsibilities. So we're going to continue with this discussion, and we will give our one of our speakers the opportunity, Marjorie, to give some a little addition to what was just discussed. The floor is yours, Marjorie.
Yeah, I really want to add one subject, and that has to do with real victims, victims of crimes, victims of not only not only hear me talking, but crimes and also war crimes. And I think people who are victims of crimes and war crimes, they need to feel justice, justice of what other people did to them. And I think for Liberia specifically, where so many war victims are, I think those people never feel justice when there isn't a well upset international wars and economic crimes court. There are a lot of people victim of fraud and corruption, and there are a lot of people victim of war crimes and human rights violations. So I think it's very important that there's going to be a war crimes court, which is international set up in Liberia itself. That is a little bit an addition I want to give because I think people who are victims, they need to feel that there's justice for them. That's what I want to add.
Thank you so much because we know a safe environment, security, and people being held responsible for making you to not feel empowered or creating fear must face their responsibility for whichever act that they committed. Justice must prevail. Ms. Yusini, do you have anything that you want to add to what Margie just stated?
I do. I do, from my own experience. In fact, I've gone back and forth to Liberia since 1995. Sometimes two times, sometimes three times. But the last 5 years, and I have so much hope, so much hope that there will come a time that there will be justice, that I will be safe in my own country. Um, I went to Liberia in June of this year. Actually, got there late May. Got there, I'd say that in June. For the first time, all of this while going back and forth to Liberia, I ended at Greystone. If you live in Monrovia during the war, you will know where Greystone was. Greystone was where the final battle took place. Greystone was where hundreds of Liberians were massacred in front of the U.S. Embassy, cut, and in the end, they put the body up, put a bonfire on it. Greystone was the first place that when the government soldier were hunting my family, because my mother worked for the State Department, we took refuge. I've never been there. I've been back and forth to Liberia. Though my mother worked there until 1990, 2003. All the time that I went to Liberia, I never visited. This year, DACA have asked me to register, and I registered online. I went there, and I found myself in front of the building. And for the first time, I was in trance. For the first time, I felt like an actual victim, paralyzed. For the first time, I felt like I was the 19-year-old young girl planning my life when the war started. And the war played And as God will have it, I had a professional person with me, Dr. Frenson. Because Dr. Frenson didn't understand why I broke down, why I'm stalled, why I can't move, why I'm crying and can't stop. And then she got it. And she helped me. She and Amanda Wright. Because they were in Liberia for the war. And the driver drove off. But even taking me home back to where I was and it felt safe. For a period of time, I was still stuck in trance in 1990 at Greystone, and the soldiers were coming in. This is in my head. This is in my head. And if anybody says I live in a safe country for 30 and some years, all my adult life, my children were born here, educated here, work here, empower people here, advocate here. But that particular moment, I was that 19-year-old. That moment, I was stuck fighting for my life. That particular moment, the soldier were coming and my family were going to be killed. That moment. And the helplessness, the hopelessness, I will add to Marjorie. Even if you are a Christian, the Bible speaks of justice in the book of Deuteronomy. God says to his children, seek justice that your Lord, your God, will prosper you in the land he has given you. And in democracy, justice is one of the primary pillars in democracy. No nation persevere, no nation progress without justice. We can't just say hello and happy, let's go. Especially what's happening in Liberia. I can speak to Liberia. It's a residual effect of the war where children are hopeless. A lot of them are on drugs. They're begging in the street. The very people who victimize them are the ones who making decision of the future. Where do they go from here? So for war crimes, I'm for it. Totally for it. I sat on the war stage. I give my testimony through my eyes as a survivor of the war in Liberia. What happened to us, the Liberian women? What we endure, Liberian children, Liberian youth, and we continue to endure. So no nation will progress without justice and accountability. And those are all religious, and they are also democracy, which is our world that we live in. If those things, if we should progress, if we should change the future is now, the decision that we make today. But I refuse to be a victim. I'm a survivor. I will fight till my last breath is taken out of me to get justice. Thank you, Lucy. Thank you.
Touching. It's so touching. I know that, we sometimes we don't know what others have gone through. And and we judge them. But here's a lady who went through the war, and at a point where her family was supposed to be killed, but by the grace of God, and going back home and just imagining where her family was at that time during the war and the impact, that alone, that's why we need to be able to help one another, uplift one another, and I'm glad that Dr. Francine Richardson was there to really give you the hug that you need, the counseling that you needed, it will be okay, it's okay that you need it, because that's what, when you talk about being empowered, this is what we need to do. Um, and I'm glad that you're seeing it, you're not taking yourself and seeing yourself as a victim, and that you're a survivor because you're making it. And the fact that you can even leave from here and go back to give back and be able to create some awareness. And when it comes to the election, which of course, that's exactly what the Liberian View is doing, to empower other people to know that, in this election, you need to vote Liberia. When you look at security, when you look at healthcare, what Liberia needs is what we need to do. Because if we cannot empower the leadership that needs to govern us. How will you be empowered? How will you say, I'm an empowered woman? We this it has to be done collectively. It has to be done taking Liberia into consideration. Because you as an individual, you can call yourself, oh yeah, I'm an empowered woman, and go to Liberia and be happy in your car, but you're empowered. So it's the responsibility, is not the responsibility is for all Liberians, wherever you are in this world. Even for all Africans, we need to, the entire world, for even in the United States, we need to do something to make a difference. We need to give back. We need to care. We need to love. We need to empower one another, not tear one another down. We need to do that. So when you do that, it shows that not only an empowered woman, but you're an empowered individual. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna go around the table, and we will ask each individual to just give um, a closing statement on this discussion as to what you think people should take away from the discussion, because we know that we're going to have another series, and whereas we'll be discussing series number 2, episode number 2, whichever way we want to call it, because this topic is very important. We need to empower the next generation, and it starts from not only from our home, but from whence we came, in fact, in the states where we are living, to care. Join other groups, young adult group. Most of them need you. So we will have another discussion. I don't know where. I know Yesenia was very teary, and when she, took herself off, because that was a really, really, really touching remark. And it's sad, but I'm glad that she does not see herself as a victim. She sees herself as a survivor, and also going back to give back. That is mind blowing. So, having said that, um, I will ask Marjorie to tell us in maybe 5, 6 minutes as to what you think people, individuals watching on YouTube and Facebook, what should be taken from this discussion. And Marjorie, the floor is yours.
I want to end in a way. I worldwide I talked already. I dealt with a lot of women and people, victims, war crimes victims, uh, underdog people. I tried to take them by the hand in the way they wanted to learn and they wanted to grow. Thank you, Cindy, for your very, very powerful addition. I appreciate it very much. Every time that I see you and I have a talk with you, I learn so much from you, and this is great. It empowers me again to continue with the work my husband and I are doing. I want to thank Lady Kate for everything she added to it. And thank you so much for your lessons you taught me. And I take them with me in my further life. And again, these are already, and of course, Lucy also, these are my things I learned today by listening to you, by adding everything to this panel. And thank you so much. And I want to add to end with something that I have a calendar every day. And this morning it was saying, where God spreads your seeds, the flowers will bloom. And I think that is so, so powerful for this, because what you did here, Cindy, what you're doing, Lady Kate, what you are doing, Lucy, you are You are the seeds which God is spreading, and the blooms, the flowers are going to bloom out of it. I'm so sure about that. And it empowers other people. And I think this is so, so important. Thank you so much. That is what it meant for me. And I think that's a conclusion with telling everything about what we told.
Thank you so much, Marjorie. So we'll go to you, Cindy, to just use 5 to 6, 7 minutes to just state as to what do you think after the discussion. I know we're going to have another episode, but what is the takeaway from you? If I'm listening to this discussion, the role and impact of empowered women, what will you think someone should take away from this discussion? Unmute yourself.
I said thank you, Lucy, and thank you to Marjorie and Lady Kate. Marjorie, for your tireless work with humanity around the world. A lot of people don't know how you impacted the world, from Africa to South America to North America, in all of those places that you've given back, that you've empowered a lot of generations. You and your husband, whom I'm honored to know, in his work. And I pray that he lives long enough and stay healthy enough that we see the end of where he started for humanity. Lady Kid, is my first time meeting you. It has been a pleasure being on here with you. Lucy and I met and we just kick it off. I guess it takes one to know one. And we just connected. So she now a sister. We have a lot of work to do together in our community, from whom in this community that we find ourselves in, our second home per se. But the takeaway from me here is that we have a lot of work to do. We have seed to plant, to germinate, to watch it blossom, like Marjorie said from her calendar for today. And Lady Kid also taught me that this is not limited to just our community, but just humanity for that matter. And because it is that, collectively, we have work to do as empowered women. And empowered is you be in a position to elevate, not to demean, not to make people feel insecure about themselves, but to make people rise to the occasion. Give them the strength that they need to make a difference. Give them the energy that they need to wake up every day and feel that they have a work here. There's a purpose of their existing. That's what I'm taking away from here. That no matter where life has thrown your way, from Marjorie, you have to not be a victim. If you don't see yourself as a victim, then you're willing to fight back to make the change that the world needs for it to continue. So I want to say to all of us, as I look forward to other discussion, that the journey, all the experiences we have, it's just the experience of the journey. And that's the journey and experience. The destination is humanity. How do we change the world? I wonder if I leave this word, that the world know that war did not beat me down. Rape did not beat me down. Corruption did not beat me down. Even the women who were given power, who failed me, did not beat me down. And that's what I'm walking away with. We got work to do. Thank you, Lucy, for having me. And thank you for being here, Marjorie and Lady Kid. It has been an honor.
Thank you so much. So we'll just hear from Lady Kate.
Wow, thank you. It's been quite an amazing evening with you phenomenal ladies, Majo and your Cindy. Yes, Cindy, thank you for sharing your story. I am empowered by your story. By your story, I know also that I'm not alone in this journey. And Majo, thank you for all you do around the world. Miss Lucy, you are awesome. Thanks for continuing to bring ladies like ourselves together to share our knowledge and experience with the community. Um, For me, I know that everyone around me, every room I walk into is an opportunity to make a difference. That every woman I come across, I want to leave a lasting impression, a positive, something positive in their lives that they can walk away with. And the lesson for me today that I want to share with everybody and to take away with you from this discussion is to know that we all need each other, right? We all need each other. We need to be a sister's keeper. Yeah. So that person sitting next to you that you think might be empowered, powerful, strong, may not be what they appear, right? So every time you meet your sister, you meet another woman, just take the time and say, are you okay? You never know what you might open, another opportunity to make a difference, another opportunity to build a strong network like we have this evening. You know, through Miss Lucy, I've met your Cindy, I've met Majo, and you are forever going to be on my mind and in my network. That's how we grow. That's how we build each other. So thank you for this great opportunity. Let's keep going. Let's keep letting our light shine and let's keep making a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy.
Thank you so, so much. It's very interesting. My life is, I've put myself in a position that I'm going to meet women that are already empowered, women that have had challenges, and yet instead they stay standing.
Yeah.
And regardless of what is happening around them, they stay know their rights and they know their responsibilities. On the Liberian view, it's not limited to Liberians, it's just a name, but we bring scholars, professionals, and folks just around that we out of and bring good ideas that we can discuss to form a bridge amongst ourselves and in Liberia and the world and in Cameroon and all over the world. And so I am so blessed to have women of such knowledge and experiences to come on this particular platform to share, especially you, Cindy. You really empowered me. And I'm sure you empowered the other two ladies on this particular platform, as stated by Lady Kate, to just tell us in tears, letting us know how you felt, and, and what you've gone through. That is empowerment. You didn't look at yourself. You're not even looking at yourself as a victim. You look at yourself as a survivor. So we are hoping that and that this particular discussion that it heals someone, that it reawakens someone's empowerment that is already embedded in them, that it made you to be aware to know that you're not alone, that even when we all sitting down here, we've gone through challenges, that you will look at this particular discussion on YouTube and Facebook, the Liberian View, and come up with some questions that we will come back again with. I will discuss with these ladies, and we have maybe a discussion in February or March, so that we can be able to answer your questions, and maybe some of the things that were not touched upon during the discussion will be touched upon. Just know that we are here for you. You have the information, you're watching it, ask your question. You have the potential to excel, to empower yourself. If you're not aware, we will let you know and we can help you, especially when it comes to the pathway that we are aware of. And others that we are not aware of, that we do not have access, we can find us those assets for you and make sure that you are also empowered. So I want to say thank you also to all our supporters and those who are watching. We want to say thank you to our ladies. Thank you so much. And I'm hoping and praying that in the month of March, February or March, we'll be here again for another episode. Thank you all, Yesenia. Thank you, Lady Kip.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Marjo. And
Bye
goodbye
bye.
for now.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Okay. Let's see alcohol, Andy. Yeah, we finished. I should stop the broadcast. They end the broadcast. Okay, I end it.